Hi, I'm William Ronan. For my analysis, I chose to do The Wolf of Wall Street, novel by Jordan Belfort, released in 2007. It was made into a film directed by Martin Scorsese in 2013. The novel and the film both take place from the mid 1980s to the mid 1990s in Long Island. The plot is about a man named Jordan Belfort, who is a stockbroker who founds the brokerage firm Stratton Oakmont after he is laid off from the well-known brokerage firm at the time, L.F. Rothschild. Once Belfort opens Stratton Oakmont, he begins to lead a life of gluttony and debauchery through several different activities, which include money laundering, selling illegal stocks, and begins heavily using drugs, specifically Quaaludes and cocaine. Eventually, he loses everything and has to become a government witness when he's arrested. And in doing so, has to wear a wire and testify against his friends and colleagues. Some of the bigger characters are Jordan Belfort, who is also the author. He's portrayed by Leonardo DiCaprio. In the novel, his wife Nadine, who in the film is Naomi, is portrayed by Margot Robbie. His best friend and business associate Danny is Donnie in the film. Is portrayed by Jonah Hill. Steve Madden, the shoe designer, is a very influential business partner for Jordan Belfort, and in the film, he is portrayed by Jake Hoffman. And Mark Hanna, who is a mentor early on to Jordan, is portrayed by Matthew McConaughey. The main theme in both the film and the novel is addiction. And this addiction is a gateway to feelings of invincibility and depraved actions and a life of gluttony. Some of Belfort's proudest moments in the novel aren't his kids or his marriage, but the fact that he could sustain 18 pills of Quaaludes, which are a highly addictive painkiller, in one day. In the film, it talks about how, despite the numerous drugs that he uses on a daily basis, none of them are as addicting to him as money, which gives him that invincible feeling. The addiction that Belfort feels is ultimately his downfall, and leads to him eventually being arrested and losing his family. One of the better reviews on the film comes from the British Journal of General Practice, which talks about how the film is able to seduce audiences with the actions of hedonism that take place in it, and the want for the average individual to be obscenely rich, and how he looks so glamorous when he abandons any principles that he would have. And I think Charlotte Alexander, the author of this review, really hits it on the head when she says, money can't buy you happiness, but it doesn't matter if you're having fun. Where Belfort in the film never says he's truly happy with his wife, his kids, his experiences, but he's definitely happy with how wealthy he gets in the short time frame that it happens. After the novel was released, the New York Times did a review that also included an interview with Jordan Belfort, and it talks about his drug use in the review, and how his drug use opened the doors for some depraved acts, but also made him very vulnerable to making mistakes and hurting people and himself. And the novel is very, tell all. It tells all of a lot of backdoor practices and illegal matters that happen on Wall Street. And he confesses to them in this novel, and it really sets the tone for how depraved the industry of being a stockbroker can be. In the novel, the source of Jordan's addiction is drugs, and that is the focus. When delivering that message of addiction can leave you vulnerable and make you very gluttonous. But the novel also focuses more on some of his business actions and how his drug use affected his businesses, specifically his interactions and workings with Steve Madden, where he helped Steve Madden go public and helped his business grow into a massive success. And through paranoia from drug use, plots to go behind Steve Madden's back and take him down and ruin his company while making a hefty profit in doing it. In the novel, he also fights his wife due to being enraged that he can't find a crack rock that he spent $30,000 on. And his wife threatens to leave him because she can't bear to see him hurt himself through drugs anymore. And the novel also hits, that Belfort does step away from Stratton Oakmont in order to avoid being arrested for security violations with the SEC. And in the film, it focuses more on Belfort's lavish lifestyle, his FBI criminal investigation, but really glamorizes his financial successes and how, one of the opening lines of the film is, he made $49 million in 1 year and they bummed him out because he didn't make $1 million a week. He was very addicted to money and having as much money as he could get. One of the differences in that fight scene is he fights his wife because she asks for a divorce when he's finally arrested. And she takes away his children. But also a big difference from the film to the novel is in the film, Belfort makes a very climactic and theatrical speech about how he can't leave Stratton Oakmont, which does not happen in the novel. He does leave Stratton Oakmont, and these strong feelings of loyalty open the door for the criminal investigation in the film. Some of the more influential scenes are his wife's aunt's death, where in the novel she's known as Aunt Patricia, and he's bothered by this news not because she died, but because it interrupts him using drugs. And it catches him off guard, and he's really annoyed that his wife would bother him using drugs because he feels that she's always knows when he's up to no good. And, he's bothered that he can't use drugs when he wants. In the film, Belfort and his friend Donnie are on Belfort's yacht in the Mediterranean, and their wives approach their yacht, and Belfort's wife is crying because her aunt's dead. And rather than comfort his wife, Belfort immediately tells the captain they need to sail to Monaco so he can get to Switzerland to save his offshore bank accounts. And he tells his wife that he loves her aunt, but she's dead, and there's more important things to deal with right now, and that more important thing is his money. And in trying to get to save his money, he almost dies and kills his wife, his friend's wife, and the crew on his yacht. They're saved by the Italian Coast Guard, and that's a very clarifying moment for him. And this moment does happen in the novel, but not in the way it's portrayed in the film. And one of the other more influential scenes is the lunch that Jordan has on his first day of working on Wall Street with Mark Hanna, who's one of his mentors. Mark Hanna is very outlandish and very open about drug use and having sex with prostitutes. And when Jordan turns him down, he says it's his first day on Wall Street, give him time, he'll adjust and he'll become just like me. And that's a very big moment in the novel because it foreshadows the events that you're going to see Belfort dive into. But he, exceeds Hannah's behavior and becomes even more depraved and more gluttonous and more greedy for material things. And that is very accurately portrayed in the film. I think it's the closest close adaptation point of the film. The only major addition in the film is McConaughey does a humming and chest beating routine that he does in real life to have himself be ready for his films. Um, then he uses that same line to foreshadow Belfort's experiences of saying first day on Wall Street, give him time. Um, and it's ironic that despite their opposite behaviors, Belfort exceeds Hannah's behavior, and gets much more involved in the debauchery and the hedonism of sex and drugs. I thought Scorsese did a fantastic job, making a captivating film, but he definitely ignored some of the more influential things that ultimately led to Belfort kind of falling off the rails, specifically the business interactions with Steve Madden. I understand cutting them from the film because it doesn't create that, that fascinating, captivating moment that you want to have in a Hollywood film. But they were really relevant to the downfall of Jordan Belfort. And a lot of the film, the scenes are made to be interesting for Hollywood. Some of the lavish parties that they throw in the yachts and the mansions are glamored up to captivate an audience. And Scorsese chooses to shy away from Belfort's stints in rehab and, his business ordeals and interactions with his family because they're not as exciting. It's exciting to see a multi-millionaire sink a 170-foot yacht and not worry about it financially, and fighting with his wife and crashing a $200,000 sports car. The themes of addiction are still very present in both versions, but Martin Scorsese took it and ran with it in a completely different direction, and saying rather than focusing on drug use, he focuses on his addiction to money and acquiring as much wealth as possible. It makes for a good movie. The novel was, a quick read despite it being 500 pages. But it definitely, makes you wonder, you can have all the money in the world, never be happy, and, live a very troubled and concerning life. And that's kind of one of the major takeaways I got from both versions. And, that's how I analyze them. So that's all. Thank you.